John Ramsey's plan was to let Patsy find the ransom note and then agree not to call the police and pay the ransom. Then John would go to the bank with the suitcase and dump JonBenet's body off somewhere. Then he would obtain the money from the bank, come back, put the cash in a bag, and then go back out again, and then pretend that there was an exchange that went bad, the money for JonBenet, but they knocked John out and took the money. And then John Ramsey would call the police and tell them that story. And then later they would find JonBenet's dead body with the garrote around her neck, her wrists tied, and the duct tape on her mouth. Patsy discovered the ransom note on the stairs, and she read only the first part and then ran up to JonBenet's room, and JonBenet was missing, and then Patsy went psycho. Burke, what was going through your mind at that time? I was trying to think of what might have happened, so I thought maybe I'm wrong, or maybe my dad's wallet, or something, credit cards. But then I thought it was a little overreacting for something getting stolen. What did you do then? I just laid in bed with my eyes open, like, sort of thinking of what might have happened. Did you hear your mom and dad talking? I just heard my mom going crazy. Psycho. How would you describe psycho? Like overreacting, because I heard her downstairs, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, So my dad was like, okay, calm down. She was just like overreacting. So what went through your mind then? Then I thought maybe JonBenet was missing. But that's not that likely. I mean, what are the chances of that happening? My dad was like, okay, calm down. Like, we can call the police. Let's call the police. You could hear that quite clearly from your room? Pretty clearly, in the distance. Patsy called 911. John didn't call. John didn't want to call. Now John's new plan after Patsy called 911 was to remove JonBenet's body from the suitcase and place it in the wine cellar, and then place the suitcase under the broken basement window to make it look like an intruder entered their house and exited at that location. Then close and latch the window to explain why his fingerprints were on the window in case CSI found his prints there. And then John reacted on the fly, turning over Patsy Ramsey's notepad to the police. Then John's plan was to hire an attorney as soon as possible and obtain a separate attorney for Patsy, because he was going to frame her for the murder. Here's what John Ramsey said in his first police interview. And actually, I'd gone down there earlier that morning into that room, and the window was broken, but I didn't see any glass around. The window was open about 1/8 of an inch and just kind of latched it. So I went back down with Fleet. We looked around for some glass again. Still didn't see any glass. Here's what John Ramsey said in his police interview with Lou Smith. What did you find? I think we found a few fragments of glass, not enough to indicate that it was a fresh break. What did you do with those fragments? We might have put them on the ledge, if I remember. It really wasn't much. We had only found 1 or 2. We might have put them up here on the ledge. Sergeant Bob Whitson. I briefly spoke with John Ramsey. I asked Mr. Ramsey if he was sure the doors were locked when he got up. Mr. Ramsey said he was sure the doors were locked when he got up and when he went to bed the night before. I asked Mr. Ramsey for a sample of his and his wife's handwriting, just as standard procedure. Mr. Ramsey gave 2 notepads to Detective Patterson, who in turn gave them to me. I was advised that one of the pads was for Mr. Ramsey and the other was a sample of Mrs. Ramsey's writing. I wrote their respective names on the notebooks. On May 1st, 1997, John Ramsey gave a press briefing, and an important detail that he wanted to explain was why he obtained a lawyer so quickly. And I'm sure he probably practiced what he was going to say. He might even wrote it out and read it several times. So here's a fax that has some writing that might be John Ramsey's writing. John Ramsey's police interviews only lasted a few hours, where Patsy's interviews were over several days and much longer. So in this section of the video, I'm just going to put up words or phrases that John used and put them up on the screen when the ransom note uses similar language. John Ramsey sexually assaulted his daughter. JonBenet had pineapple in her system, yet John said she went straight to bed. JonBenet was assaulted, wiped clean with a rag and redressed and wrapped in a blanket. It doesn't seem like an intruder went through the basement window, yet there's a suitcase under it. A ransom note was written from a notepad inside the house, yet no ransom occurred. There was an unusual knot, and John was a Navy veteran and sailboat enthusiast. The ransom amount was about the same as John's work bonus. Who would know that amount? The police theory has been, as far as I know, that either Patsy or I woke up in the middle of the night, struck JonBenet in a violent rage, then staged everything else to look like a kidnapping. I've often told friends that if I were trying to stage this, as the police contend, I could have done a much more convincing job.